Hello everyone and welcome to a new Facebook Live with Well Institute. Our, um, our topic today is very interesting. Our topic today is called Your Holy Shit. Yes, you heard me right. Your holy shit. The other day I was struggling within myself and I went to one of my colleagues, another therapist, and we had a conversation and she's very awesome, very blunt. And the first thing she said to me, Summer, you are so full of shit. And my answer was, I know. What am I going to do now? And then we started going deeper within my struggle to understand really what is the struggle is trying to teach me and what I'm trying to learn from that struggle. And what I learned in this moment is we all, as human beings, have shit. I think the difference between people who work in healing fields or as a therapist or psychologist or all that, we are just more aware that we are full of shit than others, and we are in a state where we have already accepted the reality that we are full of shit. Now, when the shit comes out to the world, how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to repair? How are we going to take care of the impact? The reason I called it holy is because of the new wave of let's deal with the high vibrational emotions. Let's be in the high vibration. Let's not deal with the low vibration emotions and the attitude towards the dark emotions. Again, I'm going to repeat that. I said it before in another live podcast. I would say dark emotions are your masters. They are there to teach you something new about yourself, about the struggle, about the culture, about your lineage, about your family in general. You can't just take that and shove it down and transcend it prematurely. People go into a trance state through self-medication, through alcohol, through marijuana, through different kinds of drugs, because really the pain is too much. And what we're going to talk about today is how to be with this pain, how to just face it. You're not going to fight with it. You're not going to try to fix it. You're just going to be with it. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to feel like a fire in your being, and this is the cleansing fire. When your being is vast enough to hold that anger so that you don't need to lash out anymore, and you don't need to suppress it or be angry at yourself, this is when actually the healing happens. So the next time when the same intensity emotional anger comes, you are holding it within your being and you are getting the message. You actually have mastered the art of emotional alchemy. I usually tell my clients I am very grateful to be working with emotional alchemists around me. So when we work together in therapy for a while, what happens, the client become their own emotional alchemist. They can mindfully pay attention to the emotion and say, oh, okay, I'm feeling really bad anger right now, and I wish I would be smashing something, but I'm not. So what's going on? Oh, okay, this person have violated that boundary for me. But also, there's some package that I didn't work with from my fight last week with my boss, or from my childhood with my father, or with my mother, or from my ex-partner, and I'm still carrying this package with me in the new relationship. The culture that we live in right now doesn't really honor the art of emotional alchemy yet. It doesn't really pay attention to struggle and people who are struggling and bowing to it. We are not in that state yet. We're still, when we encounter somebody who is struggling, we feel, okay, we need to give them space to heal, or we need to be away from the negative vibrations. Judith, I wrote her name here, Judith Herman. She's a psychotherapist, and she wrote a great book on trauma and recovery. I was reading it the other day, and her quote is strike a chord in me. It says, traumatic events destroy the sustaining bonds between the individual and the community. Those who survived learn that their self and their sense of worth and of their humanity depends upon a feeling of connection to others. Connection, guys, is what actually heals us. Whether it's connection with a really good community that is non-judgmental, a connection to your therapist, or your healer, or to a really good non-judgmental friend. The solidarity of a group provides the strongest protection against terror and despair, the strongest antidote to traumatic experiences. And that's very, very important for us to remember. So whenever we are seeing somebody who's struggling, it will not harm to go and say, hey, I see you. There's something going on for you. And even if you can't be with them in it, you just acknowledge that for them and acknowledge for yourself that you can't be with it. And tell them that. I can't emphasize enough the importance of community. I can't emphasize enough the importance of like-minded and like-hearted people like you, and other people who are interested in knowing more about their own darkness and about the darkness of humanity in general, and how actually together we can transmute that into the light and actually honor the benefits of the darkness, and instead of dealing with it as an enemy and let's fight it and let's get over it. Look around us. What does the war against poverty have led to? What does the war against drugs have led to? Nothing. More drugs? More emotional pain? When you put yourself in a state of enemy against anything, you are really not listening to the wisdom of whatever this thing is holding for you. When you have a wave of emotion, emotion is a vibration, right? It's just, if you imagine human beings as like the body is the conduit, the emotion is just an electricity passing through you. So the emotion is passing and you are not wanting to feel it and you decide to suppress it. Then another emotion comes and you keep suppressing it and you keep suppressing it. Eventually, it will be too much. And what happens is people resort to self-medication. And they choose addictions that work for them, and then they start using it. And I'm not talking about drugs only. Some people use drugs as self-medication and as an addiction. Others use power. Some use status. Some use relationships. Some use their partners and their spouses. So my question to you today, to sit with until our next encounter, would be, what is your very unique addiction? What do you resort to when you are flooded with anxiety or depression? When we encounter anxiety and depression, you guys, it's a sign of unfinished and very, very long aborted grief. The body needed to grieve. The heart needed to grieve. Emotions needed to grieve. And you couldn't do it at the time, and you aborted that, and it comes again in the form of depression or anxiety. Toxic anger. The anger that is raging, that is dissociating, comes because of abandoned fear and despair. When we abandon our fear, when we don't speak about it, when we don't process it, when we don't speak about our despair, when we don't process our despair, it comes in the form of toxic anger. So whatever emotion, dark emotion, we needed to go through at a time, and we couldn't go through it, what happened is it goes into a mental state, our minds take over, destructive behavior comes, either self-destructive or other destructive, and it becomes a mental health issue. And then we go into anxiety, we go into depression, we go into toxic anger. The more we work through our layers of darkness, the more we are less prone to anxiety, depression, and all that. One of the big epidemics right now we are dealing with in our mental health field is actually depression and anxiety. There is no enough spaces in our lives for grief. Just cry. Literally, I tell my clients that, just cry. Abandon the story. You don't need a story to cry. You don't need a logic to legitimize your tears, that you feel them here. And sometimes some of my clients would say, I feel it like a knife in here. I'm holding so much sadness here. I can't cry. Just allow the tears to come. Allow yourself to be a human being and cry with no story whatsoever. And honor that for yourself. Okay? So again, the thing that you're going to work with this week going to be, or next couple of weeks going to be, what is your very unique addiction? And it might be your addiction is very appealing to the main hype in our culture. Okay? It doesn't have to be an illegal drug or alcohol. They are just the vivid addictions. Okay? And today I want to give you the gift at the end of our session of meditation. So I'm going to guide you in a 3 to 5 minute meditation that you can always revisit every time you're going through an anxiety or you're going through depression and your mind can't understand what is that about. And you will remember that it's unfinished to grieve, and it's okay. You don't need to remember the story. You just need the electricity to pass through your body so that your body can be a conduit for really higher vibrational energies like joy, like ecstasy. They are really higher vibration that cannot go through a conduit that is already blocked by abandoned grief, or abandoned sadness, or abandoned fear, or abandoned despair. Honor your humanity. Honor every part of yourself. Okay? So let us tend to our questions for today. So the first question I have today is, why do you feel that society is scared of dealing with negative emotions and low vibrations or darkness? My own theory, why the society is scared of that, is for us to acknowledge that, we need to acknowledge that the culture we have created is failing all of us. And that's huge to take. That's a grief in itself. It's like a family that is built on power and status and how you look, how attractive you are, how sexy you are, how charming you are, and all of a sudden we are discovering that all these merits that we measure with it, how a person is better than another, and the hierarchical mental blueprints that we build in our heads is actually failing us. And we need to sit with the idea that, oh shit, we need to demolish all these blueprints and sit in the destruction of that to discover what we want to really build in a way that is honoring all of ourselves, not just the high vibrational one. And let me tell you something. If you are one of the few sensitive, powerful people who can actually tune into the low vibration, be very grateful that you can feel that. Some people don't even feel it. Benumbed themselves long time ago that they don't feel that anymore. If you are one of the few, honor that and know that darkness still respects you and still honors you as a human being, that she's still connecting with you and letting you understand that she is present in the other human's body. The next question is, what are some of the self-starting ways to deal with internal struggle? The first thing is to acknowledge that you're struggling right now. You don't need to do anything about it. Zero. Nothing. You don't need to fix. You don't need to run. You don't need to talk. Nothing. It's like, oh God, I'm struggling. And just sit with that and be okay with that. And at the end of today, I'm going to share a meditation, and hopefully it's going to support whenever you have that inner struggle again. Let's check if there's any other question. That was the last question for today. I noticed last week after our live session, there was a question that says, is the shadow work equivalent to the soul work? That's a very smart question. I respected that question so much. And I would say it's not equivalent to the soul work. The shadow work is part of the soul work. When you do enough layers in the shadow work, you actually start accessing the gems of the soul. So you start having something like prophetic dreams. You start seeing dreams and whoa, start happening. You start meditating and asking questions and the answer just comes to you. You start doing simple things in life and feeling the joy of that. So the soul work doesn't have to be all the time shadow work, but it's a big part, especially at the beginning. When you didn't do soul work for a while, the shadow work needs to be happening at the beginning. Okay? So thank you for your time. I really honor your time and your commitment to listen to that. And I would start my meditation right now. So I would ask you to just relax. Wherever you are, close your eyes. I'm going to put on my music and we're going to start our meditation. So I'm going to ask you to start by breathing 4 to 8. So you're going to breathe through your nose in 4, hold it for 2, breathe out through your mouth in 8. And when you breathe out through your mouth, you are giving a signal to your nervous system that I am calming down now. We are ready to go into a calmer state. So make sure that you're exhaling through your mouth. And we're going to repeat that breath for 3 times. And now you're going to imagine a beautiful white light that's going to enter your body through your head. And it's going to feel like a dense, milky, warm liquid going through your brain. And it's going to calm your brain, removing any sense of worry or anxiety. Then gently it's going to go to your neck and your shoulders, removing any sense of guilt, anger, or rage. Now it's going to go to your throat to remind you that you have a voice and to remind you of your truth. And gently it's going to keep moving until it reaches to your heart. It's going to fill your heart with warmth and embracement. And it's going to sit in there. And with your feet strongly planted on the ground, you're going to start seeing roots coming out of your feet, traveling all the way through the layers of the earth until it reaches to the heart of the earth. And in the heart of the earth, she's going to receive your roots fully and honor it. Remind you that she's always there for you. And gently she's going to start sending you a very unique vibration that is yours. And it's going to be a red vibration. And the vibration is going to start traveling through your roots all the way through the layers of the earth until it reaches your feet. And when you feel it reach at your feet, you're going to take a deep breath in. And while you're breathing out, you're relaxing more, allowing your body to open to this vibration. And gently you're going to start feeling the vibration going up your body. Starting with your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your hips, and for women, your ovaries and your womb, and your tummy, until it finds its way to your heart, meeting the white light. Together they're going to start dancing in your heart, your inner center of wisdom, the center of balance between your divinity and your humanity. And in that place, you're going to start putting both hands on your heart. And you're going to say to yourself, I can feel your struggle. I am here with you. I'm not going anywhere. What would you like me to know? Sometimes you will have an answer, sometimes you will not. And it's okay either ways. If you had an answer, gently start breathing 4-2-4 to bring yourself back to reality. And start journaling about it. Honoring your struggle, your holy shit. And be grateful that you are a human being who have the privilege to experience her or his holy shit. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll be looking forward to our next encounter in 2 weeks.